Hey guys, Island Turtle here. Welcome to BOMISpirit. So this is going to be a very casual little weekly live. You guys know normally I do a lot of like astrology and we do the signs and we do channel messages and all that stuff. And we're probably going to be doing some channel messages and some cards, but I'll just be honest up front, it'll probably be collective. Today is December 23rd, which is also very crazy that Christmas is right here. New Year's is right here. Here we are at like the final week, really, of 20, almost said 2025, of 2024. And there's an interesting energy that I think has come about since winter solstice, and I'm sure you guys are feeling it too. So I just kind of wanted to sit with you guys and like talk about some of that. And like I said, pull cards as well. You feel good in your new environment. Um, yes. Excuse me. Also, because I've been putting stuff, so a lot of you know, for those who don't know, I have recently moved, and so I've also been just like putting things away, and so it's also kicked up some dust and stuff like that. Just woke up a lot. Okay, so it's funny because right before I went live, I had two people reach out to me that had just woken up, and I'm like, oh, everybody got some good sleep last night. Oh, excuse me. I hurt my body. Hats me today. Oh, I'm sorry. Cheers, happy to be here. Hello, happy holidays. Yes. Super happy to catch you live. Been watching you for years. This is the first time I got to watch you live. Well, thank you for, for catching me. Yes, got good sleep for the first time in weeks. I've definitely been feeling that too for some people. And so I think that's part of the winter solstice energy. And we've been talking about that in the last live I did, just being totally upfront about it. After I did that live, I almost wanted to delete it, just being honest, because I was like, maybe I wasn't in the greatest energy to be doing that. It's like, because I have been doing a lot, obviously personal shit, right? And I was reflecting back on it and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I was in the greatest energy, but I just kind of left it because, it's up and it's like, it's up. Might as well just leave it. But today I'm just really feeling much more present. Um, I won't be doing timestamps, so if anybody would love to do timestamps, I would greatly appreciate it. I know other people would appreciate it too. I also feel like it's not going to be totally necessary for this live because it is just going to be very casual talking and also, again, potentially collective message as well. I definitely am not doing signs, elements, maybe, but I'm really feeling like I just need to be here with you guys right now. And I think that's part of the energy of the solstice, that we're kind of like out of the window at this point, but some of you may have been experiencing around either like 12:20, 12:21, or even starting at 12:12 leading up to the 12:21 window. And we have been talking about how those are two very distinct windows of energy, one leading directly into the other. Some of you may have been experiencing a lot of just bodily things that started around 12:12 leading up to 12:21. Okay. And then it's around 12:21, you may have been experiencing a big shift in terms of that energy that's been very like physical. And when I say physical, I mean like maybe you've been feeling kind of sick, maybe you've been feeling nauseous, maybe you've been having a lot of pains, a lot of headaches. Maybe you thought you were actually like sick with the flu or the cold, things like that. Um, but moving into 12:21, I feel like there has been like a big push of any of those like energies that some of you may have been experiencing. Some of you may be experiencing it as a purge or as a clearing or as a closure. Some of you, it's probably the opposite, where you're feeling renewed and rejuvenated and like that new kind of energy. And even as I was sitting to get ready to go live with you guys, they just kept showing me the sun. I was like, yeah. They just kept showing me the sun and I'm like, yeah, I can feel it. Like that's definitely where a good chunk of the collective is at. And I say chunk because another part of what's been going on too for ever since I'm not going to say ever since, but I'm going to say definitely the awareness of what's been going on collectively for the last, where are we again? 12:23. Since yeah, since 12:12. I want to say even long before that, but we've been talking about the power of choices, right? And how depending upon your choice of belief, of lifestyle, of versions of self, etc., minor to major things, right? that is also helping to cement in this window a certain timeline that you're anchoring in for yourself. And that could be for the next year, that could even be for the next era, right? For the next 20 years, for all the reasons I've explained have been like brought up many, many times in the videos. Pluto included, Pluto sextile the North Node being included in that, Jupiter also being included in that. That's what it was. It was the full moon Gemini. That's what it was. That's what it was. I was like, there was another big time thing, astrology thing that was playing a role in this. The full moon in Gemini, which was 12:15, so that was actually within the 12:12 window, between 12:12 and 12:21. I know I'm throwing those numbers around a lot. But that full moon in particular, I think, was helping to bring a lot of things full circle for a lot of people in terms of what Jupiter and Gemini has been bringing up for you guys, or has been influencing for you, because Jupiter and Gemini has been prominent through most of the year and was also playing a role with the square Saturn Pisces, which has been big, which is also peaking on 12/24, which is tomorrow. Which is tomorrow. But was also big in August. And so there's just been a lot of astrological events, portal windows that have all been kind of assisting us with closure and reflection and big, big deaths for some people as well, along with making these choices. And we always have choice. We always have choice. But the awareness of how powerful our choices are, I think, is just kind of amplified around this time. And this last week is definitely an anchoring of that, especially as Pluto sextile the North Node is helping us with seizing these opportunities of choice and like kind of opening doors or windows or portals into these other realities and timelines for ourselves, right? Along with that is divergence. That's like coming full circle back to the sun, right? Of what I wanted to mention before. A divergence has definitely been taking place as well collectively, very similar to COVID, but it's different. And I think that's, and to be honest with you, okay, yeah, they're giving me confirmation. Thank you. I love you. I just have so much gratitude right now. You guys have no idea. And I know it's not just me. I know it's not just me. I know it's also this particular part of the collective that I am reading for, that I am tuning into right now, that honestly, we are on a shared timeline. Oh, this is going to be one of those videos, guys. I'm going to try not to cry. If I cry, it's just because I'm so grateful. It's not even because anything's sad. I'm just like so full of love right now. It's like not even funny. Um, because of choices that have been made, yes, there's divergences that are happening, but because there's been enough choices made in the direction of, I want to be careful with my words here, timelines that do facilitate joy and hope, enough choices have been made to where there's a decent number of people on those timelines together. There are also people who are on other timelines that are not of that kind of experience. And you may be aware of that, because these people who may align with that may have suddenly vanished from your life, or vice versa. You could have suddenly vanished from theirs. But like I mentioned before, similar to COVID in a way where certain people who were ready to be in the bubbles, right? And on the rooftop, so to speak, right? You guys know what I mean by that. And people who were not in these bubbles, who were not on the rooftops, who were experiencing a much more destructive, chaotic, fearful kind of experiences, right? How do I want to say this? Come back to the sun. They said, come back to the sun, come back to the sun. The fact they keep showing the sun, the people I'm reading for, the people that I am sharing this timeline with, the sun is here. We are in the sun, and it's just time to enjoy that. It's time to take this moment with that. There's also something too about this being a moment of, yes, gratitude and appreciation for the choices made, and the timelines being created. Thank you, thank you. They brought me back to the COVID comparison. So what's different though about this divergence? It's not as extreme. It's not as how do I want to say? I shouldn't say that. They said not's not the right word. What's the right word here? Okay, so comparing it for people who've been in the bubbles, right, when the pandemic happened, there was probably an extreme experience of that, an extreme like catapult into um a different reality or around different people, or even like it's really in the form of isolation, I think is really what happened with people who were in the bubbles, myself included. It was being catapulted into isolation in a way where it was supportive and it was helpful, but it had this tension. It had this tension between people who were in the bubbles and people who were not. And this time around, I feel like I'm not using the right words here. That tension is not as intensely felt. It's like they're actually showing me like insulation, which is kind of interesting. Almost like that first experience um, gave us the tools to like be a little bit more energetically insulated from the tension of the divergence, right? So it's like there's an awareness that the divergence is there, but it's not as intensely felt by those who have been in the bubbles. I hope that makes sense. I'm sure that makes sense for those who need, for whoever needs to hear that. I'm sure that lands with you. But I want to come back to this moment. 2025, it's interesting because a lot of people have been asking me like, "Oh, what do you think about 2025?" and da da da. I think there's a reason I haven't had space and time. Hold on a second, let me get a little tea. Clyde looks so cute right now. I wish I could show you guys. Yeah, I'm looking at you. He's so happy. He is so happy. Seeing him so happy also makes me really happy. Um, he's just basking in the sun right now. So cute. Anyway. Mm. I think the main reason I haven't had space or time to really look into 2025 is because I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to. And I think there's a reason for that. I think especially because there's been so much energy from so many people trying to tune into that year. And like that's the thing too, guys. It's like when we tune in, like when we're trying to tune into like future timelines and things like that, and when it's a lot of people, like in a way we are creating that reality. And I feel like there has been a lot of people who have been doing it to the point where there has been some, unintentional manifestation of 2025, right? And so I think that's honestly why they've wanted me to like not be looking into it. Yeah, I'm not looking into 2025 either. Too scary. It's excuse me. I'm not scared for 2025 at all, but I think a lot of people are. And I think a lot of people are. And I think people who are looking into it out of fear, it's part of that like lower timeline, right? Versus like just create what you want, right? Regardless of what's happening astrologically or people who are almost trying to force these narratives about 2025 and then also like co-creating with that like fearful narrative like that I feel like that just doesn't really I don't feel like it's constructive. I don't feel like it's constructive to like the period of time we're in right now. Like we are in a new era. Like we really are. And the potential of what we can create with that is limitless and beautiful and amazing. But people really want to focus on those like negative narratives. But why? It's like, right? Like I get okay, I get why. I'm human. I get it. It's a very human thing. I get why, but there's also that flip side that like people are not talking about, it's like I get that there's Aries energy and Aries is like war. I get like I get that. I get the shift of air, I get the shift of water, and I get that it is like a new era, and I get that there's things happening like in the external, right, that are scary. Like I totally get that, and I'm not telling people to like spiritually bypass these things. I'm not telling people to like you know ignore it or be ignorant to it. Like that's not the narrative I am like trying to provide. I would love to see people just be more open-minded, right? um to be more open-minded to the other potentials and possibilities. It's like it doesn't have to go one way. It really doesn't. It's like that's kind of the point of co-creating our reality. That's kind of the point of infinite timelines, is that it's infinite, right? And it doesn't have to just be one way. And also to like, well, yes, there are some things going on right now that are scary and that are hard and anxiety inducing. There's always room for something else. Always. There's always room for something else. And even if there is a lot of destruction, what comes out of destruction is creation. It's like you can transmute and create so much with the energy of destruction and pain. Just speaking honestly, maybe that's my inner Scorpio talking. Totally could be. Um, but I just see a lot of potential. Like, I guess that's what it is too. It's like I don't see the end. I don't see calamity. I see potential for 2025. And I do think, again, that's dependent on the choices we're making now and the mindset we're choosing to have now, and also how we're choosing to see ourselves. It's like hold on, they're giving me things. The beautiful thing about this present moment is it does feel like have that moment of appreciation, of gratitude, of reflection, because I do think that as we do move into 2025, there may be a lot going on in everyone's individual lives as far as like just like I'm just getting an activity, but it's again it's all choices, right? It's all choices, and it's also okay, so maybe they are giving me stuff for 2025. But again, these are just choices. So if you choose to believe that this can be part of your reality, that's your prerogative. And if you decide what I'm saying doesn't resonate, that's also your prerogative. You don't have to believe what I say. I'm just here doing me, right? Um, but moving into 2025, I just keep feeling that pull of Aries, and it's like I feel it more in the self, like as the self versus like the war like energy. Um, Yeah, I just keep feeling the self. Um, just a very strong, empowered sense of self. Of I just yeah, just get confirmation from the kitchen. Um, a very, very strong, empowered sense of self. Also, just this like expanded bandwidth of vitality. Thank you. An expanded bandwidth of vitality. There's going to be so much energy to work with and work from. And like I said, and for some people may be also moving in, thank you, a new mastery. Some people may be moving into a new mastery where it feels like a new mastery of alchemy. That's for some people, not everyone. You know where you're at with all of who you are and your journey and all that stuff. Like taking the energy of fear, even if it's oh interesting, even if it's not your fear. Who are you? Even if it's not your fear, and doing something with it. And yeah, I feel like very strong magician energy here, but like really on from the self, from the self, and with this expanded bandwidth of vitality and having so much more energy to work with and work from, there's also going to be so much more to create, right? So much more to create. And it comes down to your belief in yourself, your belief in your capability. This is also what 2024 has been teaching us. This is what 2024 has been showing us. I know we've been focused on Saturn, Pisces, especially Jupiter and Gemini. But we've also had the North Node in Aries. And so that's something I talked about a little bit recently, but I didn't talk about this particular switch. I talked about the Piscean switch from Saturn Pisces to North Node being in Pisces next year. But also the North Node being in Aries has been teaching us that about the self, along with Chiron, right? We've had moments where Chiron and the North Node were working together. We've had a lot of moments where Chiron was also working with Mercury and Mars. Yeah, they're bringing everything full circle now. Chiron's been in Aries for a long time. We know that, right? But this year, all three Mercury retrogrades were in fire signs. All three of them. And I talked about that throughout the entire year. I also talked about that on the poster for anybody who purchased the 2024 astrology poster. I really emphasized that because it was just it jumped out at me when I got all my notes together for that year. Having all of the Mercury retrogrades in fire signs forced Mercury to work with Chiron in a supportive manner. And I feel like we've had consistent activity around Chiron even beyond that. But having Mars in Leo, as we have been like kind of getting to the end of this year, Mars in Leo has also been working with Chiron, right? And that's what Chiron's been teaching us in Aries, along with the North Node being in Aries, along with Mercury supporting all of that in fire, along with Mars also supporting that in Leo, right? It's been supporting us in really understanding who we are and what we're capable of and what has been getting in our way as far as believing in ourselves, asserting ourselves, taking initiative, not being afraid to take the lead of our own life or take control of our own lives or go and do things that we have been uncomfortable doing before, especially in terms of authority and leadership and personal insecurities and self-worth and value and all of that stuff. that has been a massive preparation for also moving into next year, because now we actually get to really put that into practice. We've had a lot of shadow work, we've had a lot of internal work, we've had a right? Hasn't it been like constant like deaths and rebirths for people? And I just, that's how it's been for me observing it, all of that for the collective anyway. But now here we are in the new era, also moving into Neptune and Aries and Saturn being in Aries. And here, let's put that shit into practice, right? Let's actually do something with what we've learned about ourselves and our capabilities, and our confidence, and actually how to work with energy in that way. Also, sustainable vitality. I'm getting a lot about health too. That's also been coming up in the last, like, well, actually, the last few years, I would say probably since the pandemic. But Saturn and Pisces has also been honing in on that, just because Pisces and also its counterpart Virgo do rule health and illness and routines and things of that nature, right? Um, but I do feel like health is going to be really important for next year. And I just keep getting, it's like a lot about taking control back, like on the individual level. And that can ripple out as like a domino effect, right? Because the more people who take control of themselves and their own lives, other people around them can start to learn how to do that too, or do that with them, right? Yeah, I just feel like there's just so many possibilities for what can be created, and it's exciting and it's inspiring, and it doesn't have to be scary. And that's the other thing too. It's like, again, I am not saying put your head in the sand. That's not what I'm saying. I know a lot of people have misconstrued that when I talk about these things, because I do read the comments. There are a couple years there where I was not reading comments at all. But I do read comments here and there nowadays. And so yes, I have seen the comments of people who are like, you're just ignoring what's really happening. I am not an advocate for that. Please, stay informed as you will. I just encourage to not get sucked into the fear. That's all. Just don't get sucked into the fear. Just don't let that override what you know to be true for yourself, what you know to be possible, right? Because that's the other thing too. It's like so much of like the narratives that get pushed, especially when you're like looking at news, for example, right? Or just like mainstream media, hell, even like here on YouTube, like a lot of it, I I just gotta call a spade a spade. Like a lot of it is just trenched in fear, and a lot of them are also just like what I call sound bites, where it's just like people repeating all the shit they've heard other people say over and over and over and over again until it becomes like a mainstream narrative, or until everyone's just saying the same thing over and over, even just out in like the external reality when you're running into people, right? And it's like there's again infinite narratives of things and truths of things. So it's your prerogative, whatever you feel resonates with you. I just believe in staying open minded to the possibilities of things. That's all. And coming back to the present moment, if you haven't been taking time for yourself, I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to like take time to just like feel this moment. Feel this moment. Feel the quiet. Feel yourself, right? The self, coming back to the self a little bit. Feel yourself and feel what's like brewing too. I don't know, I'm just excited. Just feel it right now. And again, some of you may be practicing some like reflection too, like if you are still kind of like closing out some old stuff or old timelines, because that's the other thing too about this divergence slash this new era. Depending on who you are, what you've been doing, and the choices you've been making, especially if there have been like massive choices, massive changes, there may be a lot of old energy that like is trying to close out still. And so you may need a lot of TLC at this moment. Um, they're showing me a card from one of my decks that's like packed away somewhere. I'm like, I'm nowhere close to being unpacked, guys. Like, my place is a mess. And even when I looked at everything, I'm like, can I get rid of more shit? Like literally, like how can I live as minimally as possible but still feel like I'm a cozy Cancer in my home? Astrologers will know what I mean by that. Anyway, sorry, I got totally distracted there. Um, they're showing me a card from my ancestors deck. Oh my god, I haven't pulled that one out in a hot minute. And there's one card specifically that actually speaks to this period of time of the year. And it's titled Enjoy New Beginnings, but it's like a winter wonderland kind of a visual, but it speaks this time of year of celebration, right? And it kind of speaks to the winter solstice, where when we look at winter solstice energy, traditionally, historically, it is a time where we're kind of going into winter, where we're kind of going into the void, where we're kind of going internal. And that energy is here, but it feels very different. It feels very different this time around. Oh, I just got dizzy. I think, yeah. It feels very different. Like it definitely feels like a focus on the self, like I said. But there's many reasons as to why that is. Winter solstice, yes. Winter energy, yes. But the Aries switch and the Piscean switch, right? Pisces being the void, Aries also being the self and birth, right? There is this spring, sunny, bright, so there's a solar plexus kind of energy that's very prominent right now. And so, yes, celebrate this time, almost like celebrate both of those aspects. Like celebrate the void, celebrate being within yourself, celebrate you, celebrate all that's happened, all that you have accomplished, all that you have been done with, and all of what you can invite in to. It feels like there almost may be, how do I want to say, a very fast winter experience. And I don't mean like literal winter. I mean like the energy of winter where we're like really within and we're resting and we're restoring ourselves. Some people it may be very fast. It may literally just be this week or maybe just a couple weeks. For some of you may obviously take up the entirety of winter. Again, it depends on where you're at and your choices and all of that. But I just feel like spring is here now, at least January, kind of going back to the messages I had before, that spring is very much here right now. That spring energy is here. And I do think it is because of Aries. And I do think it is because of this new era. And yes, we are in winter, but just, honor what your needs are always. But don't be surprised if your personal winter is very short. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Should we pull some cards? I'm kind of inclined to pull cards. Mm. So, like I said, a lot of things are still packed away, but I still have the decks that I've been traveling with, and I do have Big Bertha out here. So we're gonna do a little Big Bertha. I have a spring in my step after a year of deep purging and experiencing health issues. Well, I'm glad that you are over the hump with that, especially with the health stuff. I know, like that's the thing too about health. Like when your health gets compromised, you can't do anything. Like health is such a, what's the word I'm looking for, foundational thing to existence. Like you really, like if you don't have health, you don't really have anything, right? Like I know there's a saying that's something in that vein. I was just like barely getting the shuffling going, and Fire Guardian comes out. Ignite your passions. That kind of screams Aries and spring and sun, doesn't it? Definitely keeping that out there. That came out there for a reason. Funny. But yeah, Fire Guardian. Remember what I was saying too about just like feel this moment right now and like do what you got to do to like love on yourself, be gentle with yourself, feel yourself, and feel what's brewing. Feel what's brewing. Jeez. Am I taking these? No. Okay. Keep in mind 12:30. That is when Pluto will be exactly sextile the North Node. I know we also have new moon in Capricorn. And for my patrons watching, I'm like so sorry that I haven't been like as present. I know you guys understand. I know you guys totally understand. These next couple days, so just speaking to my patrons and also to people here on YouTube, the next couple days over Christmas, I'm definitely going to be doing all the things that I just said, like feeling, just like really feeling this like present moment right now. Also getting my shit in order too. But I will be back as I always am. I don't want to miss another new moon, full moon hangout. I really don't. Like I was really bummed to miss out on the last one. Clyde Cuddles. Oh, if you guys saw him right now, you would just melt. He's just like unbelievably adorable. Um, words, I'm sorry. I was really bummed to miss out on the last one. I don't want to miss out on this one either. But I'm very aware that I do need a couple days to like get shit. I mean, look at all the shit I have on me, like to get shit in order. So I know you guys understand that. And then I will come back with updates as well. Warrior, be fearless and stand strong. Also, what I was saying before too about this year is that we have been learning how to believe in ourselves, right? How to be brave, how to be confident, how to assert ourselves, and dealing with anything that's been getting in the way of our own bravery and our own belief of self and belief in what we're capable of. And I just feel like these two are just the epitome of that, right? It's like leaning into that part of ourselves and not being afraid to do what we want to do what is best for us. It's not even a need. That's I almost wanted to say need, but no, it's not a need. It's doing what we want and literally doing what's best, especially in terms of our creative energy, which is also just us making decisions. The decisions thing. Some of you may be very aware too that you're having a much easier time making decisions. That's interesting. I'm picking up on Libra with that, which the South Node is in Libra, right? In Western Tropic. But some of you have strong Libra in your chart. You may be aware of that with yourself, that you're just having an easier time making decisions. Oh, feeling really strong Mars on here. I'm sorry. Defenselessness, riding past wrongs, uprooting. Ooh. So doing what we want and doing what's best. I'm getting a few things with this because this wanted to be with the Warrior card. Okay. Sometimes when we do what's best for us or we do what we want, sometimes that means upsetting people. Sometimes that means disappointing people. But it is what it is, right? So I'm getting that for some of you. Oh, God. Oh, so many things coming through here. I'm also getting that emotional purging that I was speaking to before that some of you may have been experiencing. Some of you maybe not. But I'm also getting that too with the I'm sorry card. It's like I just feel like there's almost like a like a fracturing, but it feels like it's allowing for space. So there's a few things I'm feeling here. Some of you may have been experiencing a balancing or opening of your chakras, or one or two of your chakras. The heart and the root are really standing out to me. The solar, the heart and the root, but it could be any of them, like even the throat or the third eye, etc. But it does feel like if you've been experiencing purging, it's probably been from one of those places in your body, and it wouldn't shock you to hear that. It wouldn't be a surprise because you would have already experienced it. But that's also part of you really embracing this newness and also really saying goodbye to what was, who you were for some of you, and these ways of restricting your belief in yourself, these ways of restricting your inner warrior, really. Yeah, anything that had compromised that part of you. Now I'm getting really strong solar with that because they keep saying Mars too. So maybe this is in relation to your masculine energy, or even, thank you. Okay, so slow down, slow down. So maybe this has also been in relation to your masculine energy, okay, which is how we take action and initiative and all the things that we're speaking on, right? Within that experience, if that has been your experience, you may have also been learning a lot, I'm hearing mirroring, through your relationships with men, specifically, okay? Or distorted feminines. Just wanted to be said. Some of you, that's touching on the mother wound stuff, which was also big the last few years, as we know. I think we've all had enough dose of the mama wound. I think we're a little ad nauseum with that. Anyway, gotta laugh sometimes. Let's come back here. There's also something else that I'm picking up on. Sorry, Roden, can you repeat that? I'm such in channel mode. I gotta keep going, but you can always go back. You can always like reverse it when you need to. Oh, whoa. I don't know if you guys heard that. Holy crap, that hurt. Whoa. And it was on my right side too. Masculine side, masculine energy. Holy crap, that hurt like a bitch. Did you guys hear that? It sounded so loud in my ear. I gotta know if you guys heard that. Just like it was so loud. You did? Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, coming back, the other thing that I'm feeling here too, and again, everything that I'm channeling right now, you may resonate with one of them as an experience of yours. Some of you may experience all of it, right? I cracked my neck just like that this morning so randomly. Are you okay? I'm okay. It was like, took me off guard, but I'm okay. So another experience that I am getting is also the courage to forgive, the courage to make peace. So, so many things. There's also touching a little bit on what I've been speaking on earlier in the year about war and how our understanding of war is asking to evolve, wants to evolve, right? When we hear the word war, we have such strong connotations of like death and carnage and that, right? And attacking and violence and all of that stuff. But that's not really the core of what war is, right? So this also wants to be spoken on. When we speak of war, war is the act of hunting and seeking out imbalance, unhealthy things, distorted things, harmful things, so we can rectify that. That's what war is. The way we've experienced war is one expression of it, and it doesn't have to be that. This is also why so much war is like being like shoved in people's faces right now, because our understanding of war is evolving on a very deep conscious level, on a very deep subconscious level, right? As we are also ascending and awakening and all these other things. But that's all war really is. War is just the act of hunting and seeking out the imbalance, the unhealthy, the potentially harmful, and doing something about it. It doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be about carnage. It doesn't have to have innocent bystanders. It doesn't have to be that. I'm not saying it needs to be a peace, love, and light thing either. That's not what I'm saying. Sorry, I just got a little irritated because I feel like people like that's their go-to when like they're hearing someone. I don't want to say this. Sorry. Okay. I just need to have a moment to talk about this because it frustrates me. It frustrates me. And so I'm just sharing my frustrations. I feel like if you don't jump on the bandwagon of like violence and war and like all these things, and you're like, hey, there's another way, people automatically want to like shove you in the love and light column, which irritates the shit out of me because like that's literally the polarity. That's the extremes. Like there is a neutral point, right? There is a middle. There is a middle there, and the middle is what I'm speaking to, right? It's like, right? And I do understand that obviously in the ways of the world, if you will, that consciousness evolution needs to take place for that to be experienced on a mass level. I understand that. But even taking the experience of war or the word war or the energy of war in your own lives is completely up to you on how you want to deal with that, even in terms of your own relationships, right? Because that's what I was getting. They're showing me the Five of Wands here. So you may also be experiencing that this week as well, where you may be reflecting on relationships where there was conflict or something didn't go right, or it had that flavor of war to it in the way that we understand it. And you may be realizing like, oh, you know what? Like this can be rectified, this can be mended, or I can make peace with this person, or I can make peace with that experience and just understand it doesn't have to repeat, right? Doesn't mean you need to make up with people, but I'm just getting a lot of reflection in terms of these like Five of Wands experiences with people, and just taking those as lessons learned if you decide to mend things with people or not. Again, that's your prerogative, but I'm just getting the reflection there. Okay. But yeah, the fact that war is being shoved in everyone's faces, it's because the frequency of war is trying to evolve. Okay. I do feel like that's a big part of it. There's so many different lenses you can look at everything through, and that's kind of the beauty of talking about all this stuff, is because it's infinite, right? It's like, I don't know, that's why I love to just like feel all of that out, because it is infinite, and that's kind of the beauty of being here too. That's the gift of being here. It's completely our choosing, and that's just incredible. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. So there's that. Let me get a final card for the collective here. Am I taking these two? No. Okay. You're not alone. Isolation, physical connection, and community. So remember what I was saying before too, all this focus on the self and the self and the self. And the more we do that, the more people around us or people that we find or connect to or resonate with, we can also do that with them. Sorry. Things. Hold on. Oh, Harmony, thank you. Thank you for the $9.99. I wish I could like this one, but it's not giving me the option. But thank you. Very cute emoji too. But that's also why this card is here. Because that's the other thing too. It's like something that has also made it difficult for the collective to evolve / ascend, whatever word you want to, whatever word you use for this process we've been in collectively, because there's so many different words you can use, is keeping people separate, isolated, divisive language, as we know, right? That's kind of a trigger word, I know, for some people. That really gets in the way of that. Connection, community too, but even like our idea of community, I think, is going to evolve a lot is going to evolve a lot over the next 20 years. And I've spoken this before with Pluto moving into Aquarius. I know everyone's really excited that like, oh, Pluto's now in Aquarius. Like we're here. It's here. Kind of not quite. Like this is definitely the time where like individually we get going on shit, right? And then we find other people who are like getting going on shit. But the old way of community needs to collapse. That's also Pluto in Aquarius. When Pluto moves into a sign and it gets started, it really starts to highlight the corruption. It highlights the distortion, right? It really puts that in our faces, and then it dismantles it. And then we ascend out of that. So again, I haven't looked into every little bit of astrology for the next 20 years by any means, but the first few years of Pluto being in Aquarius, I think first what we're going to see is just all of the ways that community has been distorted, attempts at community has been distorted in the very old ways and traditional ways, but even like the last few recent years, sorry, my words are starting to get funny because I'm channeling a lot. The last few recent years where there have been attempts to have different kind of experiences of community, and we will see more of that come out that is distorted or abusive or takes advantage of people. And I know we know this exists. I know we know. It shouldn't shock you guys that that's a thing, right? And as more and more people and more ways of community starts to show itself as distorted or corrupt or harmful, and that starts to get dismantled. Oh, interesting. I'm hearing don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. Okay, I don't know when this is going to play out, because now we're talking years, right? We're talking a 20-year experience, and we're talking more in the beginning of this 20-year experience. There may be a moment, and when I say moment, maybe a couple of years there, where establishing community may feel kind of hopeless. It doesn't mean it is, right? But I think that's going to be a result of seeing so much distortion be revealed, so much corruption be revealed, and abuse be revealed around attempts at community. Okay? It doesn't mean community is bad. It doesn't mean community is wrong. It just means as that's revealed, then we can start to see what works and what doesn't work is all. Okay? So don't lose hope in that, because that is actually the way, right? Connection is the way of being human, first of all, literally being human, but also living in community. And there is going to be a healthy, evolved way of going about it, but that's part of the journey. Just like anything, right? This is why Pluto is also like one of my favorite planets. Because Pluto, I feel like, really epitomizes the way Pluto works. I feel like epitomizes the full experience of everything. I know how that sounds, but because Pluto does reveal all, Pluto can see all, and Pluto has this natural way of moving through its cycle of getting deep down in there, showing all that what has been hidden in the dark, right? And also brings in the polarity of darkness to the light and makes it a full encompassing experience where you do learn and you do evolve and you do grow. And that is what life is. That's literally the cycle of nature, right? Anyway, I'm getting carried away. So again, I don't know how many years we're talking here, but yeah, there may be a period of time where it may seem like community is just too difficult to do or not possible. That's not true. It's just about taking a natural course of discovery of what works. Okay. And that's also going to come with shadow work and healing for the collective and all that shit. Again, cycles. But for this moment, let's come back a little bit more to the present. For this moment, it is a new day. It is a new era. And there's gratitude to be had. There's appreciation to be had. There's some self-care and just presence to be experienced. Before we all really get into that very strong, fiery Aries energy. And we get to put into practice who we are and what we're made of. You know? You know? Mm. Whether you meant things with people or not along the way, or you just practice forgiveness, or you just learn from it. Either way, there's also going to be more connecting with other people in the very near future. Okay? Okay. I don't really feel the need to pull more cards. That feels very complete. Right? Feels very like nice and sweet in a nice little package. Yeah, that feels very complete. Governments teach and pay to train minds to be on the side of war. Hello, lovely. Delighted to catch you alive, even though late. Hello, Sydney. Well, welcome. Is this new way going to be peaceful? I'm tired of everyone hating each other. It's going to be a process. This is also why there is a bit of a divergence, right? Actually, that's exactly why there's a divergence, because people who have, let me be careful with my words. People who are making these choices, and exactly what I was saying in the beginning, where I know that there are a lot of people here right now who are watching me, who are on my same timeline, who are choosing to see all of the possibilities, who are choosing to truly create, right? Versus get focused on destruction. And there's a time and place for everything, right? But as far as it being peaceful, that is a choice. That is a choice. And I think if you are in this energy of the sun, as I was speaking to before, the divergence and everything, I think depending on who you choose to surround yourself with, where you choose to be, what you choose to do on your day-to-day life, it can be very peaceful. I do believe that. I fully believe that. There may be things going on in the outside world. There may be things going on governmentally, politically and all these things that may affect you on some level, but it doesn't have to take away your peace. Peace and happiness is always a choice. It's like you could have the world falling apart around you and you could still find moments of peace and moments of joy. That is always a choice. And it's a choice of focus, right? So I'm not going to promise sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns for the next 20 years, because that's also just not realistic to life, right? Kind of what I was saying about Pluto, right? That's not realistic to life, but there is definitely something different in the air with this divergence. And for those of you who are experiencing the sun versus people who are kind of entrenched in the old and entrenched in fear and who haven't allowed themselves to be open to what else is out there, be open to what they are capable of doing and creating in this reality, right? Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I'm definitely choosing the path of peace and releasing others to their own choice. Yeah. And like I said, it's like with life comes ups and downs. That is literally the cycle of energy, ebb and flow. That is unavoidable. There is no escaping that. It's just about choosing peace where you can, right? Even amongst things that are ebbing in your life or around you, you can always choose peace on some level in some moment or time. All right, guys, I'm going to go. But thank you for hanging out with me. Don't forget to like the video before you go. There's 333 people in here. Please like the video before you go. I am going to go and be in this energy. Also, deal with my place. Yeah, so thank you for hanging out with me today. I know it was a little different today, and who knows how the content, if it's going to stay this way or not moving forward. You guys know how we do over here. But I love you, and I will see you guys very soon. Patrons, I feel like you'll probably see me a little bit later this week, but probably not in the next couple days. But who knows? If I have a moment and it feels right in alignment, you will see my face. But I gotta go. Again, love you guys so much. Take care. And thank you for the super chat, by the way. Harmony, appreciate you. And have a great holiday for those who are celebrating this holiday. Okay? All right, guys, take care.